Hey everyone, welcome to Miss Kaliba's virtual art class. Welcome back for another week of art lessons. So today we're going to do something really fun, known as graffiti art. Who knows what graffiti art is? If you think about doing lettering, you're correct. So on here I have two different versions of letters you can use. And on the Canvas course, I include these in your lesson, and you're going to have the chance to practice doing each of these letters on your own. You could pause the video and practice now if you like, or we can go ahead and head on to our actual project. So these will be available at the end for you to look at as well. So the first thing we're going to do is practice writing tags. So tags are just basic lettering where you're using your letters to write your word. Today, what I'm going to go in, I'm going to actually use the word art, since we are doing an art lesson. You guys can choose any word you want to. It might even help to start out with doing your name to start with first. So that'd be a good way to kind of begin. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit so you guys can see this. I'm going to go in and demonstrate how to write art in doing each of these different ways of tags. So you're going to kind of you'll notice the words tag here, exclamation point, and then you can kind of see how each one has these different types of lines. So you can do them any way when you go in to do your words. So for example, if I were to do the first one and I were to write my letters, I'm just going to do basic letters to start with. So say I do art, and then I'm going to have my lines going across. So you're going to kind of notice that your A and your T will be longer than R here in the middle. Alright, I'm going to do the second example. So this time it looks almost like a circle. So I'm going to do my oval or circle to go around, and I'm going to write the word art in between. So the middle letters will be bigger, and the smaller letters are going to be the ones on the outside edge. You can notice how they're edge here. So A, R, T. Alright, so maybe you wanted to do a little bit more creative, and you want to do one where you have a straight horizontal line across the top and a diagonal line across the bottom. So that means as it goes from left to right, it's going to go from smaller to bigger. So A, R, T. So it goes from small to big. Alright, and then down here, we have two diagonal lines. So that means that we have to get our word filled in. It's going to kind of go at a curve. So A, R, T. Alright, and then my last two are both vertical lines. So you're going from top to bottom. So let's practice. So I'm going to do two horizontal lines. So this time, the words actually go sideways. So A, R, T. And then the last one, it's also vertical, but you're going to notice it gets smaller at the top. So the letters are smaller up here, and they gradually get bigger as they get to the bottom. So that's just a little practicing to kind of get started out with. You may just do regular letters to start with. Maybe you want to go ahead and use your graffiti letters to make your words as well. So it's kind of to go in and just kind of play around with it. So that's an example. So now what we're going to go in and we're going to actually create our tag design, which is going to be a throwaway. So a throwaway is when you actually go in and you have your bubble letters going around, and I'm going to go through and show you the direction. So you're creating the throwaway, so you drew your words first, write your words, and then you're going to go in with your bubble letters around, and you can kind of see how they overlap. From there, we will erase all the lines, so now you just have your bubble letters. We will then go in and kind of add a little shadow, so this makes them a little 3D. And then after that, we'll go and start adding some details. So this has a nice little outline around the outside edge, and then your final design, you'll add a lot of color. So you add your decoration to pattern. I'm going to zoom in for you guys to kind of see. This is just my example of doing art. You guys kind of play around with it. You may have different type of imagery with it. You may choose different colors. A lot of times when you have your final design, your throw-up design, you have about 2 or 3 colors in that image. And we're going to go in and I'm going to show you step by step how to make these next. So let's go back in to looking at our tag designs. To make it easy, I'm going to go in and I'm going to just do this top one up here. So I'm going to do kind of the oval here. So I'm going to use a pencil, and I'm going to use the word art. But this time, rather than doing it small like we did before, we're going to make it nice and big. So I'm going to go in. So I'm going to go to my nice oval shape. And I'm going to draw the word art. So remember, we want to use our graffiti letters. So we refer back to that alphabet that you had at the beginning that you practiced drawing. So here's my alphabet. So the letter A. So I'm going to go in. A. Then we want to do R. So R is going to be bigger. And then T. And it's a little smaller. Alright, so now I have my words art. So now is when we need to start doing the bubble letters. So our bubble letters are going to go around the design. So I'm going to go ahead and show you. So I'm going to go around the outside of the word. So, and they're going to overlap, remember. So R will go like this. And then we'll have our T. And it will overlap some. Alright, and don't forget you need to have a little circle on the inside of the A and R so you can see those lines. Alright, so next we're going to go in. We need to go in and erase all the guidelines on the inside. So I'm going to get my eraser. And remember, if you wrote a little too hard and you still see the lines, not a big deal. We will eventually cover them up later. So that's your next thing. You want to erase any lines that's on the inside. So now all you have is your bubble letters. And you can kind of play around with it. So I wanted to go back in. I didn't have my little edge here. So I'm going to go back in and add a little edge. To my T. So I have my R, I go behind my A. I'm going to make these darker. And this is a good time if you want to grab a marker to re-outline everything so you can see it. This will help you. So take a dark color, black marker will help, even a black pen, and you outline your bubble letters. And don't forget the ones on the inside. You can even go back in and do your lines there. So I didn't completely cover up my lines, so I'm going to go in and erase whatever I didn't completely cover up. Alright, so now we have our beginning design. So we mentioned we wanted to go in and add a drop shadow. So I'm just going to use my marker to continue that drop shadow. So you're going to have your drop shadow on one side of your letters. So remember, think about it. If your light is up here, my shadows are going to be on the left side of my bubble letter. So I'm going to go in. Anywhere I think there should be a shadow. So it's going to be on the bottom left. Or the left side, and then of course you want to fill that in. That's why it's easier to use a marker. Of course, if you use a pen, you can. It just takes a little bit more time. Make sure you guys take your time when doing these as well. And sometimes it may take a couple practices. You may mess up the first time, and that's okay. I'm just going to keep playing around with it as you go in. And you can kind of extend some of these shadows a little bit if you want to make it a little bit more noticeable. And this is also a good time too if you want to go in and do a little shadow underneath your design. You could do that as well. So mine up here is a little bit thicker on one side, so I'm going to go in and make this one a little thicker as well. There we go. Alright, so we have a nice little shadow. And even remember, you can even make them if you want to go even thicker. You can. You play around with it. until you like it. Alright, I think that's pretty good. Alright, so now you have your shadowing. Alright, the next thing, we go back in and do another little outline. So we already have somewhat of an outline at the top and the bottom, and we want to continue that line going around. So I'm going to go in, and I'm going to continue this line so it kind of wraps around the rest of my letters. Just like that. And if you wanted to go back in and kind of build up some more little shapes underneath it to kind of extend, to make it look more like a bubble, you can do that also. Maybe even extend it out that way. So I have a nice little outline around the whole word. Alright, the very last thing is where you want to go and start adding some decorations. So remember, with bubble letters, a lot of times you have little outlines kind of along the edge, so you can kind of go in and do some little texture. So I'm doing some little wavy lines kind of going around to give a little reflection to make it look like an actual bubble. I'm just going to extend that around. So that's something you could do with your marker. You can also go in and add some details like stars, hearts, smiley faces, you know, whatever details you want to go in. So maybe for mine, because it is art, over here I'm going to be a little creative and I'm going to go in. I'm going to draw some stuff that has to do with art. So I'm going to do like a little paint palette, and I'll color that in later. Maybe down here, I'm going to do a little paintbrush. And I'm still doing all this with marker. You know, you could definitely use pencil first if you prefer, to kind of help it so you don't mess up if you need to erase it. Maybe you don't necessarily want to do anything that has to do with your word. So if you're doing your name, maybe you want to use a crown on top. Maybe you wanted to add something like a heart. You could do a bunch of hearts. Maybe you want to do some stars. Maybe a little smiley face. But just remember, if you do these details, they do need to attach somehow. So I'll find a way maybe to do a little shadow to kind of extend it onwards. There you go. I feel like it needs something over here. So maybe you just go in and just do like a little halo. And even remember, with these designs, they can also overlap and be on top of each other. So once you get your drawings in there, you're going to start coloring. So you guys can use whatever details you have to color, whether you want to use crayons, maybe you have some markers you're going to play around with. So I'm going to go in. I have a bunch of markers. And remember, we mentioned you want to use 3 different colors. So for this one, I want to use red. Maybe I'll use purple, and I just lost the color, and orange. And you just play around with using your colors. And I keep losing mine, so. Alright, and you just go in and start coloring. So you want to color the whole thing in, and just kind of keep playing around with it. Remember, it's your design. You know, if you decide, well, hey, I want to add some more details here as I go in, you definitely can. Maybe it's not quite coming out the way you want to, and you just want to keep practicing and do a couple more. And maybe you really like it and you want to do another word. So practice with your lettering. You know, you can even just do your alphabet to start with and go from there, and then build up and start adding details, and just see what you come up with. Just remember, when you're making graffiti, you want to make sure that the final design is nice and big and you're kind of covering the whole thing up. So you're filling in all the color. Stick to 3 colors if you can. If you feel like you need to do more, you know, it's up to you. But it's like less is more when it comes to these designs. And then when you guys are done with your artwork, I would love to see what you're creating. So please, feel free to upload it to Canvas if you like. Shoot me a picture. You guys have fun with your graffiti designs, and remember, it's all up to you. You just kind of use your letters and just go from there. Alright, have a good evening. Bye.